Hey there, Roothaven Grounds family. Let me tell you about one of my favorite gardening traditions that's become an absolute game changer for celebrating Tet. If you've been following along on the channel, you know I'm all about timing our plantings to coincide with meaningful moments, and there's nothing quite like having vibrant sunflowers blooming just as the Lunar New Year arrives. Trust me, once you experience the joy of golden sunflowers greeting you during Tet festivities, you'll make this an annual tradition too. Let's talk about why sunflowers have earned their special place in Tet preparations. In Vietnamese culture, sunflowers symbolize vitality, luck, and longevity, everything we're hoping for in the new year. Their bright yellow faces radiating toward the sun represent optimism and the promise of good fortune ahead. I've had viewers message me saying their grandparents always insisted on having sunflowers during Tet because they believed the flowers would turn bad luck away and invite prosperity into the home. Whether you subscribe to the symbolism or simply love their cheerful appearance, sunflowers create an atmosphere of celebration that's hard to match with any other bloom. Beyond the cultural significance, sunflowers are incredibly practical for Tet decorations. They're sturdy enough to last through multiple days of festivities, they make stunning altar offerings, and they photograph beautifully with all your Tet setup. I've used them in arrangements with peach blossoms and kumquat trees, and the combination is absolutely stunning. Plus, if you're gifting flowers to friends and family during Tet visits, homegrown sunflowers add that personal touch that store-bought bouquets just can't replicate. Here's where we need to put on our planning hats because timing is absolutely critical. Tet falls on different dates each year according to the lunar calendar, so you'll need to work backwards from your target bloom date. Most sunflower varieties take between 70 to 100 days from seed to flower, depending on the cultivar and growing conditions. For Tet 2026, which falls in mid-February, you're looking at planting somewhere between mid-November and early December of 2025. I always recommend adding a buffer week to your calculations because, honestly, Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate with our schedules. So, if your chosen variety claims 80 days to bloom, I'd count back about 85 to 90 days from Tet to determine my planting date. This way, you have a cushion for cooler weather that could slow growth, or, any unexpected challenges that might pop up. In my experience, it's definitely better to have flowers open a few days early than to be staring at tight buds on Tet morning. Keep in mind that your local climate plays a huge role here. If you're gardening in cooler regions, make sure to factor in slower germination and growth rates during those winter months. I've had success starting seeds indoors under grow lights in colder climates, and then transplanting them once conditions improve. This method really gives you more control over the timeline and protects those young seedlings from harsh winter weather. Not all sunflowers are created equal when it comes to Tet celebrations. You want varieties that offer the visual impact and symbolism that's just right for the occasion. I've experimented with dozens of types over the years, and honestly, I've learned which ones consistently deliver the best results for this specific purpose. Traditional tall varieties like Mammoth Russian or Titan are absolutely spectacular if you have the space. These giants can reach 10 feet or more and produce massive flower heads that really command attention. They're perfect for outdoor displays or large altar arrangements. However, they do require staking and protection from wind, so just make sure to factor that into your planning. For most home gardeners, medium-height varieties between 4 and 6 feet offer that sweet spot of manageability and impact. Pro-Cut Orange, Sunrich Gold, and Vincent's Choice are all excellent selections that produce strong stems just perfect for cutting. These varieties also tend to have more uniform bloom times, which is so crucial when you're trying to hit a specific celebration date. If you're working with containers or have limited space, dwarf varieties like Sunspot or Little Becca work wonderfully. They may be smaller, but honestly, they pack the same symbolic punch and golden color that makes sunflowers so special for Tet. I've grown beautiful container displays with dwarf varieties that looked absolutely stunning on apartment balconies. Let's get our hands dirty and talk about soil preparation, because this foundation work directly impacts whether your sunflowers will peak at the perfect moment. Sunflowers are surprisingly adaptable, but giving them optimal conditions ensures vigorous growth and timely blooming. Start by selecting a location that receives at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. Sunflowers are aptly named. They absolutely thrive in full sun and will stretch and lean if they don't get enough light. I've made the mistake of planting them in partial shade thinking it would be fine, and the results were disappointing with weak, floppy stems. Work your soil to a depth of at least 12 inches, incorporating plenty of organic matter. I typically add a 2 to 3 inch layer of well-aged compost, which improves soil structure and provides a slow-release nutrient source. Sunflowers appreciate well-draining soil, so if you're dealing with heavy clay, mixing in some sand or perlite helps prevent waterlogging. A soil pH between 6.0 and 7.5 is ideal, though sunflowers are quite forgiving in this regard. One technique I've found particularly effective is creating slightly raised planting mounds or rows. This improves drainage and warms the soil faster in cooler months, potentially speeding germination by a few days. Those few days can make the difference between perfect Tet timing and almost perfect timing. When it comes to actually getting those seeds in the ground, there are some specific techniques that'll set you up for Tet success. I always direct sow sunflower seeds rather than starting them in small containers, because sunflowers develop a substantial taproot that doesn't appreciate being disturbed. If you must start indoors due to weather, use deep pots or biodegradable containers that can be planted directly into the garden. Plant seeds about 1 to 1.5 inches deep, spacing them according to your variety's mature size. For large varieties, I space plants 18 to 24 inches apart, while smaller types can go 12 to 18 inches. I often plant a few extra seeds beyond what I need, thinning to the strongest seedlings once they're a few inches tall. This insurance policy has saved my Tet display more than once when germination was spotty. Water thoroughly after planting and keep the soil consistently moist until germination occurs, typically within 7 to 10 days in favorable conditions. Once seedlings emerge, gradually reduce watering frequency, but increase the amount given each time, encouraging deep root development. This creates stronger plants that can better support those heavy flower heads come bloom time. As your sunflowers grow, you'll want to monitor their progress and make adjustments to ensure they peak right on schedule. This is where gardening becomes part science, part art. Keep a simple journal noting when you planted, when seedlings emerged, and weekly growth milestones. This information becomes invaluable for planning future years. Fertilization plays a crucial role in growth rate and bloom timing. I feed my sunflowers every 3 to 4 weeks with a balanced fertilizer during the vegetative growth stage, then switch to a bloom-boosting formula, higher in phosphorus, once buds begin forming. This transition supports flower development without pushing excessive vegetative growth that could delay blooming. If you notice your sunflowers are developing faster than expected and might bloom too early, you can slightly reduce fertilization and water less frequently to slow growth. Conversely, if they're lagging behind schedule, a shot of liquid fertilizer and ensuring adequate water can accelerate development. Temperature is the main factor you can't control, but these adjustments can help you fine-tune the timing within a week or two. Staking tall varieties early prevents wind damage and broken stems. I use bamboo stakes and soft ties, creating a support system that's sturdy yet flexible. There's nothing more heartbreaking than having beautiful sunflowers topple over days before Tet. Even with perfect planning, you'll likely encounter some challenges when growing sunflowers for Tet. So let's talk about the most common issues and how to handle them. Birds absolutely love sunflower seeds, both newly planted ones and developing seed heads. I protect young plantings with row covers or netting until plants are established. Once flower heads form, lightweight bird netting draped over them preserves the blooms for your celebration, rather than feeding the local wildlife. Aphids and other pests can occasionally appear, especially during warmer spells in your growing period. I prefer organic solutions like insecticidal soap or neem oil applications, which control pests without harsh chemicals. Regular inspection catches problems early when they're easiest to manage. Powdery mildew can develop in humid conditions with poor air circulation. Proper spacing between plants and watering at the base rather than overhead helps prevent this fungal issue. If you do notice the telltale white coating, organic fungicides or even a baking soda spray can help control it. As Tet approaches and your sunflowers begin opening, you'll want to harvest them at the optimal stage. For cut flowers, I harvest when petals are just beginning to open but the flower hasn't fully expanded. Cut stems in the early morning when plants are most hydrated, using sharp, clean shears at a 45-degree angle. Immediately place stems in water and bring them indoors to condition in a cool location for several hours before arranging. If you're keeping sunflowers in the garden for display, they'll continue attracting visitors and adding joy throughout the Tet celebration. I've found that a combination of cut flowers for indoor arrangements and standing plants in the garden creates maximum impact for festivities. For altar displays, choose your most perfect blooms and pair them with traditional Tet elements. The combination of sunflowers with red decorations creates a stunning visual contrast that embodies the spirit of the new year. Change the water in your arrangements every couple of days to extend their vase life throughout the week-long celebration. There's something deeply satisfying about planning months ahead, nurturing these sunny giants and watching them burst into golden glory just as Tet arrives. It connects us to the rhythms of nature, honors cultural traditions, and creates beauty that enhances our most important celebrations. Every year when I see those sunflowers blooming right on schedule, I'm reminded why we garden. It's not just about growing plants, but about creating meaningful moments and connections. So mark your calendars now, calculate your planting date for next year's Tet, and get ready to experience the joy of perfectly timed sunflowers. If you found this guide helpful, please subscribe to Roothaven Grounds for more in-depth gardening content, and share this article with fellow gardeners who'd love to try this tradition. I'd love to hear about your experiences and see photos of your Tet sunflowers, so drop a comment or tag us on social media. Here's to a prosperous new year filled with golden blooms and abundant harvests.